guest is, of course, Nichelle Nichols, Benji, and there. So.
Thank you very, very much. What does he mean, old episode? Can we all say original? I knew we could. It's a pleasure to be with you. I know you're small, but you're mighty. And why don't we just kind of get to know each other and take off where I see a lot of faces that I know from before, but then I always feel that Star Trek fans, our faces are faces that I know anyway, right? I feel family, and so I'd like to get how many were here yesterday? Oh, good. So we have lots of new people. And were there questions that you wanted yesterday that didn't get answered? And the rest of you, let's absolutely get into them because I have an early plane to catch today. And I do want to do the autograph session and hopefully get to everyone who wants to get an autograph. I'd be honored to do that. But I gotta get out of here to work at 2. So instead of my usual schmooze with you at the beginning. But everyone who was here yesterday knows that on our questions and answers that Nichelle Nichols is 100% straightforward, right? Honest. Right. Any question you ask, you're going to get those 90% of the time. Well, to be perfectly honest, more like 80 or 70, but what I do, okay, 50%. But I really will, if I don't tell you the truth, let's try to make it interesting. You had a question.
No, I just wanted to tell you about how you were actually affecting young women scientists as early as 1967. I was studying at the University of Bridgeport in the National Science Foundation program when Star Trek first came here. They shut down the science department every week. And our assignment was to watch Star Trek and write a paper.
That's really super. I mean, I have had, even on an even more personal basis, I got very involved with our space program and began to lecture and speak and talk to young people and young women's groups to let them know, to try to really get across that the future in science is space and the future in space is us, and that young men and women have opportunity and equal opportunity to go forward in the space program and find wonderful, marvelous careers, not just in science, but in every application of career that you can think of, from writing to administration to secretarial to photography and film making, and it's all everything you can think of is utilized in the space program. So if we have a strong space program, we will have a strong economy. And don't let anybody tell you that they're spending all that money up there in space when they're not spending it on life filling your pet project, or because they're spending we still only spend 1%, less than 1% of our tax dollar goes to our space program. Much more than that goes to all of the other programs. And our space program is the only agency that is required to pay for itself. And we don't know that. We don't know that as a nation, as citizens. We don't know that it not only pays for itself, but it still has a 7-to-1 return. So we've got a good investment in our space program. What we're going to have to do is see to it that we have a safe and sound civilian space program. And another thing that many don't know is that the military has and always has had its own space program, okay? It does utilize NASA, which is our civilian space program. What we're going to have to fight for and make sure that we continue to have, even if it means changes, is a safe and sound civilian space program. Otherwise, we're never going to know what's going on. The military will take it all over, and it'll really be all our fault because we didn't demand. I think we need to look into what our space program is all about, the civilian one, and support effective and superior administration and running of our program as we have had up until the terrible tragedy. Yes?
It started for what was the significance in the time travel where your kids started peering up through the water?
Oh, yeah. It was like a dream sequence of Kirk's. And he was going through it. It's like going through time and space and imagination, you know. So he was all of us coming out from time and projected forward. Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
Do you have any information on the next Star Trek movie?
On the next Star Trek movie, what information I do have is, of course, I don't know for sure because I haven't actually officially called the Star Trek fan to find out. But what I got from Paramount is that it looks like Leonard Nimoy is going to be the executive producer, and there are 2 writers who are working on the present script. The hope is the projection is to begin shooting either late December, it looks really more like January. And all the original cast, of course, will be back. We actually signed for our options for 6 when we signed 5, which they usually do that. And so before our options run out, and they have to renegotiate, they need to start shooting, or they need to commit us to a shoot. And so that means I think about the end of the year, they really have to say something. Okay. I'm really surprised and delighted that we're doing 6. I really thought 5, even before we had done it, I said if they do a 5, that'll be it, you know. And I was kind of looking forward to that being it, you know, because you kind of sit around and you don't sit around, you know, you work around a lot, and you think, but you do think sometimes, when is this going to end? I think, really, how long can this go on? And each show, I think, has gotten better. I know 2 and 4 were better than 1, 3, and 5, but I think they really get a handle on. I really liked 5. I think it could have been better. I enjoyed making it, and I of course enjoyed Tourists. expanded, more revealing role. But guys in the back got a great view. But they swore to me they closed their eyes. But it was great fun, and I hope that I think sometimes so much is expected, you know. They only made umpteen zillion dollars, you know, but they didn't quite make as much as four. I mean, when you're making films and you're doing things like that, it really is enough to make a very good profit, don't you think? You know, and but we keep escalating. So hopefully they learned in 5 that fandom is still there. I think they thought after fandom all the conventions were going to stop. But they thought that after 1971. And 2, and 4 and 8 and 6, you know. They just keep thinking you're all going to go away, and they keep going, you're still there? So they don't understand it. We'll be there for an eternity and a day. And a moment. As my co-writer says, an eternity and a moment is about all you can ask for, right? Yes, who knows? Yes.
What episodes did you enjoy
In the series, in the original. Anytime we were about to get off the bridge. I love Plato's Stepchildren and Gamesters of Triskelion and Mirror, Mirror and Plato's Stepchildren. And I like about 36 takes worth. I'm a smart girl. Sometimes I'm a smart girl. I think, you know, sometimes it pays to be helpless, to play helpless. Oh, Captain. You're so strong and I'm so compassionate. My mommy raised no dummy. Mirror, Mirror, Trouble with Tribbles. Lots of them. I had lots of favorites. I think they weren't always the best episodes, you know, as far as the social statement or really the best made. But they were the most fun for me, and I think that's what you were asking, right? Yes.
Recently, they didn't show the menagerie a couple of days ago, and I noticed that your voice was on there. Were you on? Because it didn't edit so much when you don't.
The menagerie is made of the first 2.
Yeah,
I was not in the first 2. I was not in the pilots.
Wasn't yours the voice when he's on the planet?
Yes.
But your face is not.
Yeah, because they put that together afterwards, after I was signed on. But I wasn't signed until the beginning of shooting. I was in for the first episode, but I was not in the 2 pilots that sold the show. I'm not part of being in the show at all. I was being one of the ones that cut. But Gene Roddenberry is a very wise old bird. And he waited until he made all of his compromises and the show was sold, and he fought with them over keeping the alien with the pointed ears and green blood, and he got that, and he got rid of number 1, married her. And then after the show was sold and they weren't thinking, he told them that he was going to make a couple of changes in the command crew on the bridge. He wanted to add a little color to it. That's what he did. And they said, great, do what you want. So he did, and they went, wow! Whoa, wait a minute. And he said, too late. So it's great, yes?
I read in the magazine that you and William Shatner shared the first interracial kiss on television.
Plato's stepchildren. Yeah, it was a first generational kiss on television. Can you imagine that? Doesn't that seem far-fetched today? But that was just 22 years ago. 60. We had one major, the worst response. He asked me if we had any negative response. Yeah, we had one letter that Gene Roddenberry said. Most of the mail was like, right on, what has she got that I haven't got? That guy sending Bill Shatner congratulations. But we got this one letter from a guy from the South who said, I don't know if he was in Alabama or South Carolina someplace, and he said, I'm against the integration of the races. My God, he says, and I'm just not for it at all, he says, but there's one thing that's really wrong with that show. Anytime a red-blooded American boy like Captain Kirk gets a beautiful dame in his arms like Uhura, he ain't gonna fight it. So, hi, sweetheart. You want to meet the audience? Thanks for coming to see me. You've got very, very intelligent parents. You look right. Yes.
What's your name?
Hi, Jim. It's a pleasure. Thank you. Thanks for coming. And if you feel like speaking out, you just let it go.
Did you like playing in horror films like the film The Supernaturals?
I talked them out of the horror, you know. I like doing film. I like working. So it's not a matter of doing horror films and so forth. But it was going to be really horror, you know. And I talked them out of it because I thought the script was good enough to stand on its own as having to do a little to do with the occult, you know, like Ghost is not a horror film, but it does kind of have to do with the supernatural. And I thought you could do a really good film about this tough sergeant who takes a group of young recruits out on their first training mission and just happened to stumble on some haunted grounds and things begin to happen. But I had fun making that one. Yes, sir.
Do you like Star Trek: The Next Generation series?
Very much so. Very much so. I think The Next Generation has a lot of good qualities, and I'm glad that Gene didn't try to copy in characters and everything else the original, because I don't think he could ever do that. So he was very, very careful to create totally different kinds of people, characters, as we all are. You know, we may all have same interests, but we really are unique in and of ourselves. Isn't it lucky having you on my mind? I only know through sunshine or snow, it certainly is so. Every time I come to a Star Trek convention and meet you, every time is like the first time, the very, very first time with you.
Well, we got our autograph and we saw Lieutenant Uhura. So I guess it's bye for now from Star Trek Convention in Green Bay.
You want Chateaubriand?